So welcome back to the Bruno Forge, and today we're going to be talking about making your own ice saw. So I went on online and then I saw a bunch of different pictures. I saw different models that people were using, and I decided to make my own. So let's get started. So here we are, and there's the pattern right there. Started to make my holes, and I'm making the hole for this corner right here, like this round part. And then I'm going to try to cut it this way, cut the zip cut this way. And the only part I don't know how to do yet is this line over here. Now, I might use like a jigsaw and start with my 1/2 inch hole and try to cut it that way. I imagine a bandsaw would have worked too. I just don't have one right now. And but that's it. I'm just gonna do those holes for now, and then I'll work from there. So remember, this is 1/4 inch thick, so you get to see what it does. There it is. I cut that part over here, and then I get to cut this blade 2.5 inch. Ouch, don't touch that. If you could see right now, when I'm done cutting all this little stripe, this was a 3 inch flat bar, 1/4 inch thick. And then I'm taking a 1/2 inch all the way because it has to be 2.5 inch. Otherwise, if it's too thick or if it's too wide, you won't be able to turn when you cut. So I'll show you what I did here. I divided this blade by 2. So each half is 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches from here to there, here to there. And then I made 1/2 inch holes for my corners. Every tooth, it's got the same angle from here to there, there. It's the same angle all the way. And I will show you the angle afterwards on how I did it. Okay, so for the angle of the tooth, what I did is I used this little square, put the pivot line right here, and then if you can see this, I brought it up to 5 degrees. 5 degrees, and then I scribed my line. Those are all the same line. 3 inch, 3 inch. So it was at 5 degrees. That first line over there, 5 degrees. Boom. So then I made 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch increments, and that was like my space for my ice, like the hole, and then the width of my tooth. So 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch, which give you 3 inches, a total of 9 teeth, which was 27 inches total. And then this was 40 inch long blade with a 6 inch tip. And then I just beveled it my angle that I wanted. I just went by eye. So yeah, I'm just going to show you after that. I'll give you the angles, but basically from this line here to here is 3 inch and 3 inch. So my tooth is 2 inch wide, or 2 inch long, I should say. And the hole in space in between is 1 inch. So you get your 3 inch right there. And then you have a 1/4 inch of height, and then that's where you make your line. So it's pretty direct, and that's what I figured out, the spacing and the shape mainly of the blade on how to make an ice saw. So it's a little bit complicated. I was really good at sharpening chainsaw, so I understand a lot, and I've sharpened a lot of carpenter saws by hand, so I understand what it's like to make, like, I'm gonna have to bend each tooth to give it some width, but I believe this is gonna be really good. So I'm gonna keep going with this, and I'll be back. Almost done. It's getting there, my friend. It's getting there. It's gonna look good. This blade is not bad. I got chewed up a little bit. Maybe it's hard for you to see, but it's not bad. Except, you know, it's worth almost like $15 to $16 for that one blade, Canadian. It does cut a lot. Maybe I just pushed it, but I know this is pretty tough metal too. It's 4140, so it's not your just typical regular steel. This is really harder carbon compound, and I believe there's chromium in there. So yeah, it's I hope it's gonna work. And if it's not tempered enough, or if it's not strong enough for my teeth, I will probably heat them up, and then I'll quench them, every single one of them. I'll plunge them in water, and it should do the trick. So yeah, bear with me, we're almost there. There you go. I truly recommend using long sleeve shirt, because the shards coming out of this are really hot. They burn your arms. So that's it. Perfect. That's done. That's the biggest job. Well, maybe it's not, but for now it is. It was a pretty tough job. So, all right, so we're gonna keep going on this. Start cutting up the teeth. Hacksaw, metal blade. Works better when you plug it. It's plugged. What's wrong with it now? This is going to be to cut this hole. Takes a while, but it works. All right, so a little update. Even this thing, it's kind of hard for the teeth. I don't know if you could see that well, maybe not. It's too close. Out there, I'd say. But it's pretty tough on the teeth, and this metal is hard. So I'm actually going to use the same. I only had 2 blades for that, so I'm just going to use to start the hole, and maybe use this big guy to finish it. So far, the big blade is actually working really good. See how it's cutting like this? I can really start those sharp angles, and even though if the carbide still hurt a little tiny bit, I can still do a pretty good job at it. So I'm just gonna start doing the same thing. I'm gonna do the part that I don't want it to be heated too much. So I'm gonna cut the points of the tooth, and if I have to finish the rest with the zip cut, it doesn't really matter, because it's just in the back of the tooth. So the important part is really this part, all these tips. I don't want to overheat them or whatever. A little bit more snow. The ducks are hanging. Ducks are hanging out there. Oh yeah. All right, cheers. I've cut pretty much all of my points. They're all done. Now I'm gonna have to start cutting all the other ones. I'm gonna use the the zip cut to do some part, because the blade, I mean, it lasted quite a while. Like, it cut all of it, like, really. But it's starting to get chewed up. There's a few spots where it doesn't cut much. So yeah. All right, so there it is. I'm doing my final cut with the jigsaw, and it's almost there. I can feel it. See how when you use the zip cut, sometimes you can get some heated spots? That's why I didn't want to use it like on the tips. Like in this spot here, that's fine. It's just this part. I might actually even have to quench them, but I hope not. So there it is. Getting close to it. The final shape. Getting dark out there. I believe the ducks are still hanging. Oh yeah, they're right there. Cool. Cheers. There. Pretty much done. Two more. Starting to look really cool. Oh yeah. Right there. Two more. Alright, so now we've got our tooth, and they're all done. The saw starting to look really cool, really good. Now the part that I enjoy to do, and if you guys watch any of my earlier other videos, I'm not scared of using hand tools. So I could use a grinder, but I don't want to heat them up. So I'm going to be making all these tooth, the whole thing nice and smooth. And then we'll bend them. And then after that, I'll show you a little bit of the angles that we're going to give on every single one of them. All right, so I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to clean it all up, and then we'll see you guys after. Alright, so I'm giving it some way, like what you call it, give it way. So I'm bending the teeth with the vise. So I put the whole thing in the vise. And I want the whole part of the tooth to move, because I don't want just the tip. I want the whole tooth to bend a bit. So this one was that way, this one this way. That one was that way, this one this way. So we're gonna bring this one like that. There. We'll check it out. Not bad. Looks pretty good. The other side now. 4. Sorry for the mess there. Little COVID Kleenex. There you go. Alright. So this one is going to go this way. It helps that I'm a big guy too. Maybe some of you won't be able to bend some 1/4-inch steel, but I'm working on it. I think it'll be just perfect, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna keep going until they're all bent. So that's how you can actually turn your blade, is by cutting wider than the width of your blade, because if not, it's going to bind. You're not just going to be able to cut straight and even then. So we'll keep going. Doing the back. All by hand, man. All by hand. I'm gonna take a little bit, like a 45 off of these, like on each side, once I get close to the teeth part, because it's gonna help me to turn a little bit. I don't know if you can see this, but yes, you can. See how off it is? Right there. It's off. I'm trying to get it off the blade about 1/8 of an inch. And same thing on the other side. There you go. That one is out. That one is out. There you go. And this one too. That's it. That's how you want it. What can you say about that, man? Never had cool ducks like this. I always wanted to have pet ducks. These guys, like, they're half wild and half tame if you want. Been doing this for years, I guess. The old guy was living here. They just showed up at the bird feeders and they never leave because it never freezes all year round. So just the most beautiful things ever. They're my Christmas ducks, so happy Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Hopefully the next year is going to be better than this one, which was okay for me. No change for us, eh guys? No change for us, eh? Just a little bit of food, a little bit of grain. I give them grain. There's no point giving them, you never give them bread or nothing like that. Give them a little bit of duck feed and that's it. They're good all year round, man. So yeah, so much for ice fishing anyways. There's not going to be much ice this year, but at least, you know, gonna have a beautiful fire. Look at that. Ah, beauty. Right there. Keeping me warm. Putting a lot of filing on that cabinet. You know you've done a good job then. There you go, hand filed. So you have to go every second one, so you don't want to touch the one that's angling on this side or angling on this side, angling on this side. So we're going to be touching the one angling on the outside. And this is the point that's sticking out from your blade, so we're going to be touching this edge here. And I'm going to start taking some gradually. Hopefully you can see well. And that's why I didn't want it to touch anything for now. You just got to make it square so you see where you're going, and then you touch them again. So that's just going to be my job, so I'm going to work on that and I'll come back to you guys. I don't know if you can see this, but I gave it a little bit of an angle, not much. Like this would be straight, and I gave it a little bit like that, just to take that flat part off. And you see how it gave it a little bit of an edge there. So there you go. I'm gonna do that to every second one. This one, and this one. There's not that many tooth on this blade, so that's good. But it still takes me quite a while with this big file and my weight, so it's a good sign. I hope it's gonna be tough enough for ice. You remember, ice is the strongest thing. You can demolish blades with ice. You can break boats with ice. Look at the Titanic. I don't know if you can see this, but the sky is on fire. It looks pretty cool. It's like the sunset. Okay, so this side is done. See how they're a little bit bevel? A little bit on the side. Every second one. There you go. And I gave it a little mark there so the snow or the ice can actually hit this one. So now I'm going to turn my blade around and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's do that. I'll come back. Alright, so now I'm going to be working on this part right here. I'm going to be taking some off on the edge, and it'll make that tip a little bit more pointy yet. So I might have to kind of give it a little square shot just to, I don't know how tough it's going to be against this ice, but we'll try it. We'll give it a try. And if we have to just go at the tip and make it a different angle just to make it a little more steep, so then it's tougher against abrasion, it should work. And it'll start to look good. We're at the last phase right now. As soon as I'm done that, the blade is done, pretty much. You got to be careful about the other teeth there when you're leaning against there. It's pretty dangerous, but just make sure you're aware. Put your arms lower, go nice and easy. Don't push anything. And then put that nice angle on that tooth. Alright, there she is. Give her a little sharpen on that side and it makes him nice and pointy. I hope this is gonna dig good. I say I hope because I heard it's kind of tough to do. It's not just a given it's gonna cut right away, but I'd say this got a really good chance. I'm gonna do the same thing now on the other side, and then the saw's gonna be pretty much done. Almost there. Looking really sharp. The last one here I made it straight so it cuts even. The front I gave it a little bit of a notch on the side there, and I'm going to do that on all these points. So where it's actually pointing, when the tip, the pointy tip, I want to touch this one, this side here. So I'm going to take a little bit off, show you what it does, and then I'll do that every second one there. Turn it around and do the other side a little bit just to give it some room for the ice to dig in or to go in. So I've seen on some models that they did that, so I'll copy it all. Watch your fingers. Don't have to go too much. There you go. That looks good. And just for a little tip, when I finish my tooth there, when I made my side on my first side right here on this side, when I finish on this side, when you get to your point there, go nice and easy, give it a few strokes on this side, a few on the top, and a few on the side like this, and you're gonna come to that nice and sharp point. If you ever need to sharpen your blade again, you could sharpen this edge a little bit. Try not to touch too much on the other side, but just for the finishing part, that's all you do, and then it's going to be nice and sharp, the whole thing. Alright guys, so there you have it, the final product. This is going to be looking really good. Looks like a mean blade. Happy about that. My guess is it's going to be cutting really, I would say, like from good to really good or very good. Now I don't know if it's going to turn right or not, so we're going to give it a try. I mean, that's all you could do. I believe it's going to turn. So yeah, so now what we're going to be working on is doing the swivel part and put the handle. I'm going to show you how I actually made this part. Alright guys, so this is going to be the swivel part, and that's going to be part of our handle. I was at my buddy's place where I ended up using his press drill, and he had some 3/16 plates here. It's not quite half an inch, quarter inch, but it was 3/16 plates, and there was already holes made in the pieces. Now they weren't completely at the right spot on the plate. If I put them on top of each other, the holes were a little bit off. So I'm going to show you what I did to make this fit completely perfect, because right now it is pretty much perfect. Put that in there, and there you have it. You got your swivel, and boom, it locks there. Beautiful, really tight. That's how I saw what they were doing on the site. I really watched carefully on the model and what they were doing, and this is what I came with. So I'm gonna be at one point putting a pin there, and on the other side I'll be putting a pin also there, so when I bend this, it's gonna be here, and the handle is gonna be protecting that blade from our fingers and everything. So the handle acts a bit like a guard, if you want, which I like, and it's steady. And I do have this pin here. Oh, and I do have this ice cap. Even on a cold day, it's nice. So yeah, this pin is going to go here, and there's also going to be a hole where it's going to be there. I'm going to cut this pin and make this thing here a little shorter so it fits it perfectly. I like the style of it, so you just clip it on and it stays there. The other model, the guys had like a piece of wire holding it to the handle, and I don't really like that. I just want something that stays here and it's always kind of there. So that's going to be our pin, which is perfect. There you go. So how I made this part, I'm going to explain to you quickly. So what I did, I cut those two pieces, those two squares, to have it close to the dimension. And I made them a little bit bigger so I can actually trim the excess. So I made it about an inch wider on this side. So first of all, I figured about where I wanted to have the hole and where it would work. And I positioned the plate to where about I wanted this top plate on this side, and I actually put, this plate was kind of on a vise so it would stay there. So I rest the plate like this, and I went underneath, and this plate wasn't there. So I went underneath with my welding glove and everything, and I held this piece underneath, and I made sure I had, because I made a scribe line here at 1.25 inches, which is half my blade, remember? And it's half the width of the teeth, half the width of the solid part. And I made it sure that I went down a little bit from it in case my handle was just a slight side, but my handle turns out to be perfectly 1.25 inches. So that was from an old shovel, an old scraper that we had at work. So I recycled a lot of parts. This was all metal recycled. I only bought this piece for $110. But anyway, so I went underneath here and gave it a tack, bend it a little bit so it was nice and straight, and then I proceed to weld the rest of it. So then I had this hole that was made, but I wanted to join, I wanted to make the other hole perfectly in line. So what I did is I took the hand drill, and I made a little punch hole where this was. It was laying perfectly there. I made sure it was going down a little bit so I could grind some excess metal. So I took the drill and went in and made a little hole, perfect center hole, went on the press drill, made my hole over here. And what I did is when I welded my second part, I flipped this blade around. So I flipped this blade around, and I had this part here, which was perfectly matched to this hole. I used a drill bit, and I'll make sure, let's say this was a drill bit. So I used a drill bit and put the drill bit through, and then I made sure that this plate was perfect and matching the one underneath and this one here, and then I proceeded to weld the rest of it. So that's how I made it, and that's how, when you actually put them back together, those holes are like perfectly in line right there. I hope you could see that well there, and it goes and it fits in there perfectly too. So that's how I actually made this part. Very proud of it, very sturdy. I'm going to cut a bit of an angle so it's not as dangerous when you bend it back, because when it's folded like this, it's going to be folded like that. I don't want this, sorry there, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to cut this on an angle and make it nice and hand friendly. I also made this corner here hand friendly, finger friendly, and so I'm going to have excess metal, and I'm going to match it with the blade, and then I'll cut both of them and match like this length of this line of the blade there completely right to the end. So it should be a perfect match. So I'll start with that and modify this piece a little bit and show you as I go, but try to make it not too long. So using a square, I'm putting in it lengthwise along that blade so I know it's perfectly in line. Let's grab my line. Okay, so we have here the handle, and as you can tell, it's just this old scraper from Garant or whatever, and so I just looked to see if it was wide enough. My plate was wide enough, and it turns out it's perfect. I've got a good 16th of an inch on each side of it, so which my scribe line. So I'm just gonna go ahead now and cut this line right here, right over there with the zip cut, and then I'll be back with you guys. You're gonna see what it does. There you have it. Okay, so I marked my the slot, the 1/4 inch slot that my plate's gonna go in. So basically this is gonna fit in there. Boom, just like that. It's gonna fit inside that. So I'm gonna put it in the vise and give it a cut. You gotta take your time, make sure you don't go off both sides. Look all the time on the one side, look on the other side when you're cutting to make sure you stay straight, and that's it. Just keep it up, nice and easy. All right, so I've made quite the cut on this side, and I'm trying to stay a 1/4 inch. Hope you can see that well. I'm doing like a triangle on this side until I start hitting on the other side, and then I'll turning around and do the same thing on the other side, and then vice versa until I make it and I'm actually right down to my notch. So take your time of doing it like that. Don't try to go as fast as possible. Just make sure you turn it to your facing, so you're facing toward you, and then you make sure you go nice and slow. I had to switch saw because I was at the end. You know how this one is only have a certain width. So this one here I've changed to a bigger saw. And just a pro tip, if you want to make something nice and straight, don't use the tip. Always go with your fattest part of your blade, so you stay right here and it's going to stay nicer, it's going to stay straight more, and you take your time because this one's got bigger teeth on it. But that's it. That'll bring me to my the bottom of my mark. As you can tell, I went nice and easy, a little bit at a time. Just be careful, and then you try to make it that 1/4 inch all the way. Okay, so here I'm using this big file. It's an old one, but it's just perfect. It's almost a 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to use that and make my hole just perfect. Just go nice and slow and just take the excess in the middle. Try not to move more stuff on the edge here. I'm trying to just to get the stuff in the middle here between the, so that's going to be perfect. It's going to make it nice and square, so I could fit that that bar right in there, and then we'll be good to go. So this is going to go right on here, just like so. See that? So that's pretty good. Looks nice. Should fit well. All right, so there it is. Pretty good fit. Might have to go down just a little bit more, just because I still have a bit of an edge there. But still about 1/8 of an inch, but it looks really good. Even on this back side here, looks great. Looks like it's all tight. There you go. So by using this file, it turned out to be just awesome and just perfect. So I just used it. I'll use the same thing just to go down a bit more, about 1/8 of an inch, and then we should be good. All this part here is nice and straight. I used a file and made it perfect. And I made this hole right here. I used a hand drill and went super nice and easy. Made a perfect hole for my pin, my first pin. So there you have it. Made the connection with the handle, put the 2 bolts. I'm gonna have to grind the excess right here. Take that off. Take the file, make it nice and even here. It's gonna look really good. This is perfect. This blade is amazing. Can't wait to try it now. We're gonna have to wait for the ice to form. So now I'm gonna clip the 2 tips on that and bang them up, and that's it. Okay, so there it is, the handle on there, and then I fold it. I want it about 3/16 from the handle, and that's exactly where my hole is going to be for the second pin. So you mark it down. There you go. So that should work perfect. Everything goes well. Should be folding in half, and then you put your clip. All right. Uh-oh. I don't have a way to make it stay there. Another day in the Bruno forge, and it's really happy about that. The next video that we're going to make, we're going to start working on some ice tongs to take some of those blocks that we're actually going to cut with this. So I'm going to work on the ice tongs, and the shape of them is already done, and that's going to be for tomorrow or whatever, so on the next video. So take care guys, and we'll talk to you guys later. Cheers. That's what you're looking for. This is Christmas for them too. It's Christmas for everybody, eh? Come on, Dickie.